Hello, viewers. This is Vibhuti Jha. This is Jaipur Dialogue USA. Welcome to the show. And as always, please like, subscribe, and support our channel. Give your feedback. Today, wanted to start with one very auspicious greetings to you. Dhanteras. Today is Dhanteras. The Diwali coming next round, right around the corner. So happy Diwali, happy Dhanteras, and happy celebrations to everyone. With these words, I wanted to start a conversation on Mr. Shashi Tharoor, who has made Indian Americans world famous. Now, Shashi Tharoor has one thing which is very good about him. Men and women alike, they love him for their own good reasons. And I won't talk about the reasons there. They both like Shashi Tharoor for what he is and whatever he does. However, there are certain elements of his character and personality which leaves one wondering, why does he do what he does? That is a political element to figure out. Why does he do what he does? Because no politician does anything without thinking through. And I was told once upon a time in New York City, in a major fund managers conference, talking about the impact of politicians on the economic activity, when the CEO of a major fund manager company said, politicians are not stupid, they only act stupid. They want to see what their words have an impact on or about, and then they determine their future course of action. That stuck in my mind. After all, the politician is very smart salesman. He is selling dreams and ambitions, hopes and aspirations to all of us. And the entire world listens to them and votes for them without any tangible gain, without any buying or selling actually happening. It's a promise to something. And therefore, the beautiful sentence from the book that says, so easy to promise to give what you don't have, and you don't have to. With this background, I'm coming to the fact that when Shashi Tharoor was here in New York during New UN General Assembly, he made a very pompous statement that Indian Americans, despite their success in America, they are doing very little India or influencing America towards that policy. We want to analyze this thread completely, open, frankly, and truthfully. I've done it once in my show. My first, I was able to comment for 20 minutes. It got huge viewings, but people are still stuck with that because Indian Americans in America are a very interesting lot of people. To talk about this, I thought I'll bring Mr. Desh Kapoorji, who is a dear friend, a deep thinker, has a dristikon. I want to hear from him as to what does he feel. Why did Shashi Tharoor make that statement? What was so compelling? He was expecting Indians to do a Harry Potter kind of a magic wand. The US government will change its policy. Let's talk about that openly, frankly, truthfully, absolutely.
Thank you, Vibhuti ji, for that introduction, and thanks for laying out the topic itself. And I think it's a very, very important thing to understand. Like, where is actually Shashi Tharoor coming from, and why are the NRIs actually being targeted, right? As far as as far as the politicians are concerned, and you said it absolutely correctly, that politicians are not stupid. They do things, even in case of Trump, who many people caricature as a fool. They are not foolish. They do it because of a certain set of reasons, certain set of agendas, and certain set of interests that we may not understand, but they have an interest, an agenda, and reasons of their own. So the way I would see, in there is a very interesting phrase about like that somebody said in Urdu, like it was about how to like characterize a situation. So he said, कुछ असल है, कुछ झूठ है और कुछ अंदाज़े बयां है. So some of it is true, some of it is false, and some of it is just the way of putting it. And the same actually lies also with Shashi Tharoor, for the piece that he has written and the narrative that he's forwarding. It is actually like in a lot of like ways, it is true that Indian Americans have not really done a lot in terms of political activism that they should have, whether it is during the time of Biden or during the time of Trump. That has been a consistent issue. Like even within the community that we have, we keep on talking about it. We keep on self hurting ourselves, self hitting ourselves that we are not doing enough, and we aren't. Just like people in India, the Hindus in India aren't doing enough. So it is not a unique trait of the NRIs. Like it is a trait that goes across. I have heard Sushant Sareen talk about this. I wonder where Sushant Sareen was during the UPA time. Was he as vociferous as he is now against all those things that were going on? Probably not. Like, what about Smita Prakash? Was she as vociferous at that time, having those kind of podcasts or interviews as she's having now? Probably not. The thing is, it's easy when you have somebody like Modi at the helm and you try and criticize Congress and the Islamists and all those people. It's another thing to actually do it during their time itself. So, like with that in mind, the thing is that like what Shashi Tharoor, from Shashi Tharoor's side, like when I look at how the situation or the scenario in India and about India is being fashioned and going around, I would say that it is unmistakable now that there is a movement or there is some kind of work going on to displace Modi ji. There is no doubt about that. For last few months, whether it was Vice President Dhankar or it was somebody else, that's what they were trying to do. Now, why Modi ji needs to go out even when like BJP is still there is because they can game other people. They can't game Modi ji. So if India has to be to become a like supplicant or like flexible enough for the West to actually use India against China and Russia, then a remaining of Modi ji as like at the helm will be a big problem. So that is a reason why a lot of forces are trying to do that. Now, in terms of putting their faith in who can actually deliver those goods, they have been trying to do it through Rahul Gandhi. He is a clear, absolute failure on all fronts. On every which way, he is an absolute failure. In that way, they would want a face which is a little more congenial, who has a good gift of gab, and seems at least thoughtful. That is why India actually sent him post Operation Sindoor as well. So he seems to be a more acceptable kind of a face for anti-Modi groups. That's how I would read it. That if we have to look for interest and agenda, then I would say that he becomes a more acceptable face, a more acceptable a pivot for those kind of forces. So if he's setting certain things in motion against the NRIs and against India's interest, because I consider both of them together. Because see, the thing is, it's very, very tough to differentiate between the two, because NRIs have always been linked to India in a very, very big way. So that's how I would look at it.
That's a you have brought in a thought process that is very close to my heart, and I did not know about that. You are thinking in a similar direction. I look at Shashi Tharoor as presenting himself, distancing himself from a little bit from Rahul. Because remember one thing, it is Shashi Tharoor who was not endorsed by Manmohan Singh government when he was contesting for UN's Secretary General's position against the Korean, who is now the Korean government fully endorsed him and campaigned for him. Whereas Manmohan Singh government, which is Congress UPA government, did not endorse Shashi Tharoor, nor did they campaign for him. I know that it's whatever they did under the table, nobody knows. But government of India maintained its non-aligned policy with reference to UN position. Shashi Tharoor lost. He went back to India. He was inducted into Congress, and he was made Minister of State, not even a cabinet minister. Minister of State for External Affairs. Became instantly famous when talking about, he used the word cattle class when there was an economy measure declared by the government to what do you call to reduce expenditures. So he called traveling in economy class as a traveling in the cattle class. He got slammed for that. Everybody remembers that. Now he is again the same Congress party that did not give his name to lead the all-party delegation after Ops Sindoor, right? It was the BJP-led NDA government that
Hmm.
chose him, and he did a great job. So he's a great interlocutor, great mind, but he is not in a position to take over the party because Congress and family is so well entrenched. Is he distancing himself, presenting himself as a likable guy? He's a likable guy, no doubt about that. Can he be? Can Rahul Gandhi is known as the BJP campaigner? People love him for that reason, right? Shashi
Right.
Tharoor not. Shashi Tharoor will hold his gun even with Modi is concerned. So, is this a play hit at one of Modi's biggest supporter group is the Indian diaspora overseas, of which America is the biggest number. Tell me.
That's right. I would agree with that.
That's not a short answer I expected. I want to tell me
Yeah.
more.
No, I'll go in more detail about
Yes,
that.
please do that.
So,
Please do that.
so the thing is, when actually Modi ji came, like initially, and he started with the Madison Square Garden, rally. I think one of the main objective of Modi ji at that time was that having traveled across the US in so many different ways, because I was listening to someone and he said there was a time when he was working in BJP and RSS. At that time, he would come to US and he would take the Greyhound from one capital of like one state to another state capital, and he would stay there and go around, and then he would go to another one, and then he would go to another one. He would be living and staying with the Indian Americans here, so he knew how things were. He knows how amorphous and how disjointed the Indian community here was. So when he actually came and started this whole thing about the rallies, he hit upon many things at the same time. So the way I looked at it was, one, he brought say 20,000 or even 50,000 people in one stadium, all chanting Modi, 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 right? Howdy Modi was like that. And then suddenly, from being not even known as a community, as being a very invisible community, suddenly the Indian Americans came alive together as one really big, very powerful community who were aligned on one kind of thought and one kind of interest. And along with him, he used to make sure, whether it was in Canada, US, Australia, Germany, or anywhere he went, he made sure that the local head of state was always with him. Now, this used to happen before he would actually go and start discussing. So, one, he would bring them along, he would show them the power of the Indian Americans, and he would show his own power with those Indian Americans, how popular he was, and then he would go into the negotiations, have all the talks and all those things. Now, that guy would have already been, impressed and almost aghast at the sudden change of things. Because I remember, like 15 years back, if any Indian American would have even 25 people brought into his home, he could actually get a congressman to his home, to speak. Because I've seen that happen in Houston, quite a lot at that time. So for suddenly 50,000 people to come in, paying for it, not free, paying for that, almost like 300, 400, 500, even $1,000. And making that happen was phenomenal for those people. So when he would go into a negotiation with that guy, like with the head of state, suddenly the entire narrative would change. The entire, like viewpoint would change. Now he had a power behind him that he wouldn't have otherwise. On the other hand, when he left, those bonds that he had built within the community were still there. They started, perpetuating themselves, and Indian Americans who had never thought about a political career or political, power, they started working on them. From then to now, I see so many Indian Americans are actually within the, school boards and, councils, the city councils and congressmen and all those things that I'd never seen before. So, Modi ji's basic strength, whether he was a CM in Gujarat, where he actually used to have the, Pravasi Divas and all that, and then later on, like, did all these things. His greatest strength has been people outside of India. In fact, I would say India's greatest strength for a long time, whether recognized or not recognized, have been people outside of India. See, like I'll give you an example. Veer Savarkar actually came to London in 1906. Till 1909, he stayed there. He made friends with so many people who were revolutionaries there. He backed Madan Lal, like Dhingra was actually inspired by Veer Savarkar, who inspired Bhagat Singh. Kartar Singh Sarabha was in California, and he started the newspaper that he started right at that time. So thing is, though, and Kartar Singh Sarabha was again one of the main inspiration for Bhagat Singh and for many other revolutionaries that came down the line. And Veer Savarkar, the work that he had done in India House became the benchmark and kind of like a template for many other people, and so on. There were many people outside of India. Even Swami Vivekananda's speech outside actually was the one which galvanized so many Indians back in India. Like, it was his speech in Chicago that did that. Otherwise, nobody knew Swami Vivekananda before that. So the thing is that, or at least like people in that, numbers did not know Swami Vivekananda at that time. People in Bengal may have done, but may have known, but not people from outside as much. So what I'm saying is that there is an inherent strength that India has, which Modi ji realized that India has, which has been at India's help all the time. Now, if and it's a continuum. People say, like, I know that people have been talking about us versus you, means Indians versus the NRIs, and debating and critiquing and like almost abusing the NRIs. But like, it is not us versus you at all. It is a continuum. A person who came on H1B yesterday has suddenly become an NRI now. How's that us versus you? He's still like that. Nothing about him has really changed, except that now he has a visa and he's working here. So what? Like would a like UP guy or a Bihari guy who's working, or a like guy from Delhi who's working in Bombay, like suddenly like cease to be from where he is? No. And like, can he just one fine day when you want him, can he just pack his bag and move back? No, he can't, because like he has built a entire geographical situation around him, that is very difficult to take away. So the thing is that there is a strong bond between the diaspora, the Indian diaspora, and India itself. That is very hard to break, and that is a strength. 35 million Indian diaspora is outside. So, so I think because of their power, because of their money, because of like what they have done in the corporate America or the corporate like world itself across the globe, people realize that this is a power center, a power group that needs to be dismantled if India has to be dismantled. So in that sense, I would say that it is a continuation of the attack on India. Because like think about that. When the Leicester attacks happened, like whom were they actually blaming? The RSS and BJP. Really? Like, what did RSS have to do with Leicester? Like I have no idea.
Yeah.
When right, and when Khalistanis are attacking people here in Canada and in the US, remember that Taco Bell or like whatever that case was, or where that guy actually like started shouting at an Indian guy. Like, what was he saying? RSS and BJP. Like, what does that have to do with the person sitting here? And many people in India keep asking me, why the heck would you
Just,
even
just,
talk
to,
about
just
BJP?
to interrupt for a few minutes,
Right.
the Leicester case was recently thrown out by the court, by the High Court system in UK, saying that there was no evidence of Hindutva-led agitation or fight done there. That was a big victory for Hindu groups in UK. That's
Absolutely.
something I wanted to bring out because I read that news only a few days ago. So, but somewhere along the line, media part, that news is not a news. That the London, UK had thrown the code. Had it been some other religion, that would have been a glorious news. Oh, victory of this and that. So continue on, please. Yeah.
Right. And I think what you are saying is like part and parcel of how media actually works. Right. So what I would say is that, you know, like I was, like, I think I was trying to say that, like in my alumni and other groups that I am, all like often talking, about situation in India, I've been told many times that why the heck do you even care about Modi? Because you are anyways in the US, and like you are not going to come back, or like you shouldn't be like talking about the politics in India. And I used to tell them, and this was before Leicester happened, and I used to tell them that, look, there is a continuum. People in the US actually use the proxy of RSS and BJP to attack the Hindus in the US and UK and Canada. That's how it is. So if something happens to BJP and RSS there, then we are going to be directly impacted. If something happens to us, they will be directly impacted, because that is how it works. There is a very interesting thing that I would like to share here. You remember Anthony Bourdain, like the chef, who died, like the
Mysteriously.
next, right?
Who died mysteriously, by the way. Yes.
Correct, exactly. So that Anthony Bourdain was in Kenya, and he was talking to, right, and he was in Kenya, and he was talking to one Kenyan food blogger there. And then when they were talking, she suddenly said something which hit me very, very hard. She said, nobody will ever take the blacks seriously until there is a successful black country. And I was like, wow, that is very true. There is no successful African black country. South Africa is not a successful black country. Like, it is a mix, and more because of how the things have happened there, like over the years. But there is no successful black African country because of which people would say, okay, like we take them seriously, despite the fact that so many black people outside of Africa, whether like in the entire West, have become so successful. They have never invested back in Africa. They have never made sure Africa becomes successful, or is not like plundered the way it is plundered. The same thing is not true of India or not true of Indians, like Indian Americans or Indian British, like British Indians or whoever it is, because they have always gone back, because there is, like, we realize that we have this rin, this debt of our Karam Bhumi and our Jan Bhumi. Both are different. As a Hindu, I have a rin, I have a debt of both my Karam Bhumi, which is US, and my Jan Bhumi, which is India. And I can't get rid of that because that will always be there, because one has given me the education, the birth, the nourishing that has made me what I am, and second is nourishing me now. So so I think in that sense, like, it's not that we will ever be disloyal to the US or to India. The thing is, our idea of what US should be, what US is different from many of the Americans in MAGA and the leftists that are there. And the same goes for the other side also. Now, if Indians think that the Indian IT services companies have really helped Indians out, then we need to think again, because they have only enriched themselves. They've actually sold Indians in cheap slavery for so many years, and like nothing could be further than the truth. That like they have like actually helped India. But that is not true. Like, if Zoho guy alone could actually make something successful as a product that could be sold worldwide, sitting in a rural place in Tamil Nadu, why couldn't any of the big IT companies like do that? They could have done it, but they didn't. They could have made a cloud, they didn't. And look at the situation today. That I was joking with a friend. I said, like, Reliance was in competition with the Big Bazaar, right? With like in case of Big Bazaar with Amazon. Amazon actually tried to steal it away, and somehow Reliance actually like managed to keep it. Now, like, look at the the real strange situation. Geo's entire data is on AWS. How foolish can you ever be? Could Reliance not have created its own cloud? They could have. Could Infosys or TCS not created its own cloud? They very well could have, but they didn't. Nobody did. Now the situation is that the data has become such a big issue, because one day you are being, like, if America thinks, if Trump thinks that the Indian companies need to be deplatformed from AWS and the American clouds, what would they do? Nothing. They would lose everything. And that's not like, I'm not making this up. This could happen. This has happened before with Russia on Swift. Like, could it not happen on the clouds? That very well could. After all, Gap.com, which was a extreme right-wing platform, was deplatformed from each and every cloud during Biden's time. So why couldn't this happen? There is a precedent for them, but nobody has cared. So the thing is that there is blame to go around everywhere. Yes, we have not done enough. Yes, like when we were brought in, like, we were like indentured labor, because actually those IT companies would have a bond for any of their Indian employees to be leaving from the US. They used to, like, actually sign a bond
Yep.
for hundreds and thousands of rupees. So Indians who were brought in here by the on H1B by the Indian IT companies were actually indentured labor, like, in many ways. They could not do anything until they got a green card. They were actually like slaves. Like,
You
I
brought
know I've
in
experienced.
you brought in very serious, significant statements, and those are very important for people to understand. Just because I'm a Bihari, I left Bihar, moved to Maharashtra to pursue my higher education, didn't mean that I abandoned my Bihariness or stopped being a Bihari or I adopted Maharashtrian culture. I remained a Bihari, a very proud one at that. The issue is Indians, when they move from India to United States, they retain their Indianness. It is not that they suddenly sprung up with the wings of gold, or a wisdom of Aristotle overnight. No, it doesn't happen like that. We were essentially Indians. So the non-interfering attitude was very critical. And there's one thing which I have also pointed out earlier on, and I say this: majority of the first generation Indian downwards, they came with $6 or $8 in their pocket, and that's a reality. They came here, everything that was dreamed or luxury in India was a matter of routine necessity in America. Whether it was air conditioner, heater, hot water, cold water, or an ability to able to buy a car, everything that was luxurious became a necessity. So suddenly your quality of life shifted. There was virtually zero competition. Whereas in India, you used to compete for every little job with thousands and thousands of people, including reservation.
Yeah.
So people who ran away or left the country, they left the country H1B के पहले की बात कर रहा हूँ. So they left the country for higher education, good jobs, which is the historical reality about immigration. People move to improve their economic situation, or they are running away from political suppression. That was not true about India. But education and job employment were the key considerations. So suddenly Indians found life is cool, life is good, American dream is wonderful, and they remained to the extent true that they what is the point of getting involved in politics. So we remained, just as we were detached with politics in India, we remained detached with politics here. And I am on record asking Indian Americans here, get engaged in the local communities. That's where you draw your strength from. And I'm very proud to say, as you very correctly pointed out, Desh pointed out, people are now entering local politics, the council, school boards, and things like that. That's a welcome development. But yes, Indians need to do more. Not because of that they have to be pro India, but you have to be pro your own community wherever you are as an Indian American, fighting for your own cultural roots and your own values. There is a whole halal economy running in America. Why there is no vegetarian economy running in India, in America? From the Hindu point of view, none. There is none. So we need to make our voices heard, seen, and felt. I want to come to another issue that comes out of that. Shashi Tharoor, and I'm making, there's nothing personal about it. He is a smart guy, but his credibility with me is very low, remarkably low. If ethics and morality matter in politics, in which in my case it doesn't matter, in my opinion, there is no ethics, no morality in politics except as a political punchline. He is serving Rahul Gandhi. He is in the honored service, indentured servitude of Congress Party and Rahul Gandhi. If the man cannot fix his own leader, what right does he have to tell me what I should do about my life? That's my fundamental question here. Rahul Gandhi is the man who keeps lecturing overseas, even recently. Wherever he goes, he backstabs India on every single issue: education, foreign policy, economy. He is on record saying that Indian economy is dead. And then there have been statements how Indian economy has grown and how the world institutions think about Indian economy. So I made a long, statement for you to ponder and tell me, does he need to coach his own mentor, his own leader towards greater mind? Otherwise, इधर से सोना उधर से आलू किधर से कुछ भी नहीं. Your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I think I agree with that because charity should begin at home.
Yeah.
So if this is like what you think, and like it is a good thing that you think like that, and like I'm not saying that all that he said is not true of the Indian Americans. Some of that, a lot of that may be true, but the way he has put it forward was not really benefiting either the Indian Americans or India itself. Now, in the same vein, the Like we all know what happened in Hindenburg report. I had done a video which actually went viral about Operation Zeppelin, how the Israeli Mossad actually came out with the entire report, almost 250 plus pages report of how the Hindenburg report was actually created. It's they actually went and hacked the servers where the whole thing started, and they found that it actually went to the office of the Indian Overseas Congress in Chicago. So the thing is that, like, it is a fact that Congress has been at the forefront of sabotaging India and sabotaging any and every Indian interest that they can lay hands on. And this is not a joke. But in all this time, like whether it was a report from Operation Zeppelin that Israelis came out with or anything else, this guy had just kept quiet for things that have hurt India. So the only thing that he can speak up about is that Indian Americans are not doing enough. Like, is that his argument? When he himself, his own leadership, his own party itself has been at the forefront of sabotaging India at every day. All that, like Rahul Gandhi says and does, and all those yatras that he takes out, and then he meets people. Like one of the things in that report was how he was meeting with the Pakistanis and in Stanford, and how he was talking to those people who were actually orchestrating the whole Hindenburg report. So this a narrative that he is trying to set, I feel is like more to feel kosher. And unfortunately for India and the Indian Americans and the rest of people who feel that India should remain good going forward, it is the it is most of the vociferous Hindus themselves who have actually started attacking the Indian Americans. They somehow have this chip on the shoulder that because they didn't move out of the country, they are somehow more patriotic and more aligned to the Indian civilizational ethos. In one of the, like, I don't know if you remember, in one of the programs on Sathology, there was actually one person, well-meaning, he started saying all the NRIs should read Bhagavad Gita. I don't know why he would say that. It's as if the Indian Americans have no idea about Bhagavad Gita or Hinduism at all. Unfortunately for us, the movies that have come out like Purab or Paschim or Pardesh have really messed up the entire idea of what NRI really looks like, or what NRI really do. Indian Americans, whether it is Rajiv Malhotra ji or Raj Vedam ji, Aditya Satsangi ji, and Nilesh Shok, they have far more scholarship under their belt than many people I have seen there in India today. The kind of contribution that they have had in terms of even Hinduism and Sanatan Dharma is phenomenal. And that has not happened like just by conjuring up something. That has happened after a long period of research and thinking. If they come here to the US, they would see how each and every city has a throbbing Hindu society, which has built its temples through sheer hard work and engagement after their work. Like, it's not a joke. Like, people go for retreats and people have weekend satsangs and all those things. And it's like, I don't know of very many people in India who actually like do as much in Hinduism and Dharma than I've seen here people like do here. Yes, yeah, people are there who like party also, but that is there in India as well. So the thing is that there is a caricature of NRI that has been created by all these movies, and somehow that is so not true, that it, like, I just laugh. I mean, that guy who said all NRIs should be reading, Bhagavad Gita, was very well meaning, but he was so off. He had no idea about how the lives of NRIs in the US or in Britain are. I, so I would say that, like Indian Americans and Indian, the British Indians or like Indians outside have done a lot. And like it's, when I, some Americans think that, oh, like these Indians, with their Hinduism and all that will change America. They also need to realize that, I keep telling, anyone that I can, that we have come from a democracy. We understand democracy like nobody else. When I came here, for me, democratic principles meant something. When I see this country moving away from democracy, moving away from the basic freedoms and democratic principles, then I will call it out. Because for me, America is not an autocratic and fascist state. It should not be. That is the essence of this country. And that should be the real the basis of this country. And like that is how the founding fathers had even talked about the US, right? uh, like when Benjamin Franklin was like going out of the Constitution Hall at that time, after the second draft, like he was asked like by a lady, so what kind of constitution have you bequeathed to us? And he said, a republic, madam, if you can keep it. The thing is, are Americans themselves being able to keep the republic that was bequeathed like to them by the Benjamin Franklins and the founding fathers that were there? If not, then somebody has to say, like we are not trying to like do something which is anti-American. We are, by being what we are. In fact, right now, like if you really look at it, the how the demography is changing. The demography in the West, whether it's Britain, Europe, US, is changing, right? The people who thought that they were the, they had built these nations, their demography, their populations are going down. Where are the populations going up? It's going up in Africa, the Islamic world, and in India. They have an option of where they want to go for actually like refurbishing the populations that are coming, that need to fill up this these societies. And they need to understand, they need to think how they want the future of this country to be. Have Indians try to change the entire way this country works, or like try to bring in fanaticism? Absolutely no. They have tried to assimilate within this culture, keeping their own values and social norms and civilizational ethos intact. I think that's the right way to go. We have contributed more than any other ethnic migrant has ever done. So so i like i feel that there is a balance that needs to be kept, which we have kept, and both need to understand whether it's in India or the US.
Thank you very much. There are many elements to this entire issue and conversation. What is also very important, as you very rightly pointed out, is that we are not different from people in India, yet we maintain our ethos and culture, and we assimilate with the local system. We are not like many other communities that demand their pound of flesh, to use Shakespearean language, or they demand their own halal system. We are very accommodating of everybody. Here is one more issue that comes out. You had said right in the beginning that Modi had changed the paradigm from MSG onwards to Long Island Coliseum, right? Just a year and a half ago. And everywhere it was Modi, Modi. And you are very correct in your observation that the local people saw the power of us, who are their major. Is Shashi Tharoor trying to wean away that big support that Modi enjoys overseas? This is very important because he's showing the Congress party has always been about divide and rule. And they suddenly felt they expect us 5 millions to make miracles. We are not even street fighters. And you said it correctly. We reflect what you do there. And I was asked this question by a Republican colleague of mine. Hold on, gentlemen. This is important. I was asking him, what can we do to rein in Trump from being so anti India and so ridiculously in his statements? You know what was his comments were? People are not stupid. People notice and observe. He said, Trump's calculation is very easy. In your own country, you have political leadership like Rahul Gandhi and Congress Party that embraces Pakistan. So why should you be upset about Trump embracing Pakistan for a very sectional work that he does? Right? Why? You have your own people in your own country that they are plotting to dismantle the country. And they know this. It's not that people are blind and they don't read or they don't know. They know about Stalin, they know about Rahul, they know about Kejriwal, they know about Mamata Banerjee, because India is a happy hunting ground for these elements. So my question and my request to you is to about that element, that अपने गिरेबान में भी झांक के देखो भैया. And the biggest damage that you pointed out earlier was that it made many Indians sitting in India more hateful of us. that that he has ignited a fire in a group of people against us who we have done no harm. We came to
Right.
manage life here. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's very true. And I think, like you were asking me about, is Shashi Tharoor trying to wean us away from Modi ji? I think more than that, I feel that, like, I don't think Indian Americans will be weaned away from somebody who's doing good for India.
One
I'll,
one second. He has greater ability
hmm,
for people, ordinary NRI, to look up to,
hmm,
because he was once upon a time here himself as one,
correct.
than Rahul Gandhi, who is an out and out. I don't have adjective for that. Go
Right.
ahead. Yeah.
You're right. And I'll tell you an incident that happened, and this was before the 2014 election. I think it was somewhere around in 2013. Um, when the scale of plunder and the scale of corruption by the Congress party started hitting all of us, everyone around the world, in the country itself. I was there in there was a group which met like at a local temple, trying to see how can anyone help India in this kind of situation. And I remember the priest in that temple got up, and he was a very articulate person, and he got up and started crying like a baby. He said, "Look what they have done to this country." And the pain that he had was shared by everyone there, because we really felt India was in a hopeless position. India was in a state which it cannot be revived from, but it was. So, in that sense, I would say that the Indians who, anywhere Indians who really think that India, like I was talking about that, Kenyan blogger who said the blacks will only be taken seriously if there was a successful black nation. It's something like that. Indian Americans will only be taken seriously and are being taken seriously now because there is a successful India. Before that, nobody gave a damn. Nobody actually gave a damn about the Indian Americans. Like if you go back, say, 20 years, nothing of India would ever make news here, but now it does. Now Modi standing right next to another leader makes a mainstream media during prime time talk about that. Nobody used to talk about, even when a prime minister used to die in India, people used to not care about it. The mainstream media in prime time would never talk about it, but now they do. There is a difference. There is a difference that has happened. So the Indian Americans will always want something good to happen to India, because that is where their credibility really comes from. The problem is that The continuum that I was talking about from India to the US, that is what they are trying to break. Because even Indians who are aligned with Modi ji are actually sharing hatred for the NRIs, because, oh, I had my uncle who used to boast about this and that, and who used to say so many things. Like many times, like even I would have like said like something that how like certain things are done in the US and how certain things are done like in India, and there is a lesson to be learned from everywhere, right? There are certain things which are done in India which are not done in the US, and there is a lesson to be learned from there as well. But to think that that is denigrating anyone all the time from every like way, like, is not the right way to approach things. Yes, some people went overboard, some people crossed the line, some people said something hateful as well when they used to go from here to like to their relatives in India. But that has not been the norm. That has been few people who have done these kind of things. And to use that as a pretext for hatred for all NRIs is very, very silly, because it plays into the hands of the enemies that India has. And I just feel that there is a bond that they are trying to break, which Modi ji has worked very hard to create over the years, whether it was the Pravasi Divas or later on. And the way he has even given Padma Shris and Padma Vibhushans to people who are from US or Britain or other countries, that has been unprecedented. This had not happened before, but this has been happening in the last 10 years, because everyone realizes that, like, whether it is like David Frawley or like other people, they are making contributions to India. So you can't escape that. So I think that is where Shashi Tharoor's real target is, to break the bond of continuum that is out there.
That's exactly what I said. His main ambition was the Congress Party toolkit, divide and rule. And
Right.
they found that Shashi Tharoor could be that candidate who can wean away certain elements of NRIs from Modi, not realizing. And after you said something really remarkable, which is very close to my heart. The corruption element that existed during the Congress led many regimes. I'm a victim of that. I came here in 91 to market India's liberalization program. Guess what India was known as? Corrupt politicians, corrupt bureaucracy, corrupt everybody. Nobody means anything what he says. You know, this was the image. We fought that image. I personally fought that image. That exactly for what you said. Don't blame everybody for one being bad. But we know the scams that existed during UPA. I can say this: what Modi ji introduced was the element that I could throw out the badge of corrupt Indian from where I wore it here, which was visible to everybody. And I have been asked this question: how come you Indians working in America don't take any bribe, but every Indian in India takes bribe? I used to counter that by saying, don't look at India from the point of view of what America is today. Look at India from the point of view of what America was post Second World War. Your streets in New York were also full of God knows what kind of a family system. Not only that, what is also important to remember that you have grown. We want to take advantage of the way you have grown to make ourselves catch up. There's one very important element that I wanted to share with the audience. You said right in the beginning how the Hindenburg thing, the report that you did, the report, I watched that analysis of yours, brilliant, absolutely. That how the whole report went to Indian Congress, Overseas Congress in Chicago. There's other element to that. During Congress rule, they had created a coterie of wealthy Indians who have succeeded in the Washington-Boston corridor, who became the Congress party interlocutor in the corridors of power in the US Congress. When Jaishankar became the External Affairs Minister under Modi, he did away with them. He did not need them. He knew the system. Besides, they were Congress loyalists. Why would he need them? These people have been working. I know it because I've seen that statement in which people were talking, let's remove this bloody Brahmin Jaishankar who doesn't know diplomacy, politics. Think about it.
Wow.
There is a group of, yeah, I've seen that. See, I questioned that man also. How dare you do that? So the question here is very important for people in India to know things we do that you don't know anything about. The Indians here played a big role for the newer nuclear civil deal that happened. You know, remember that part, and I really admire you for making that statement. Whatever happens in India affects us. Whatever happens to us must affect you because we are interconnected. We will remain interconnected. So, last word to you on this. What must Indian Americans do to become more vocal in America? There is a merit in that. We can't become like many other religions who are up to fight on the street. We are not that type. How do we counter that accusation attack that happens on us today? Is happening. Final word on you.
Sure. Thanks. And like what I would say is, I think it's a need of the hour. And I think people, when they are seeing a lot of Indians who were inactive earlier on, and now they are seeing what is happening to them as H1Bs, as H1B is finishing, has finished like already. So now what they are seeing is that they are being targeted, very openly. Whatever was under the rugs, under the carpet earlier on, is now in your face. Whether it's JD Vance calling us Indians and the rest of the non-German, non-white people, migrants as servants, or the rest of the the rhetoric that goes on. That this is a time when we need to come together to have a substantive dialogue within the community itself to understand what are our alternatives, what are our options that we need to have for the future. Because that one evening on Friday, when this commerce secretary had said, well, it will be $100,000 every year and there would be no H1Bs going forward. I know how people were thinking. I know how scared they were and what they were thinking, because like we had a friend over and she was in a very bad state. It's not until the next morning when things were clarified that it'll be only H1Bs going forward that would be stopped, and it'll be like that would be impacted by the $100,000, that things improved. But the thing is, now is a time for us to actually stand up and start thinking of how to actually take the narrative in our hand and look for a more substantive, stronger, as well as more engaging kind of a community. Like we need to think through that. And like it can only come through dialogue and through introspection. It can't come through exactly like you are saying. We can't be the street mob. We should never be the street mob. We are better than them. Like there was this dialogue from an Amitabh Bachchan movie. हम में और उनमें एक फर्क है और वो फर्क रहना चाहिए. So that I totally believe in, that we are not like that and we should never be like that.
Deshji, it has been a remarkable conversation. It's a very serious issue because whether we like it or not, whether I'm addressing this to Indian Americans, NRIs, Indians who are not Indians anymore because they were born in America, so they are Americans, and Indians back home. We are all the same. For us, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Shakti is the same. It's not like Rahul Gandhi who says, I oppose Shakti. Remember his statement? One of
Yeah.
the things which is very important that I learned from others, and I say this with pride. You learn from others more than you learn yourself. And that's one thing which I was told. And I want you to think about it. Shashi Tharoor's party, Congress party, under various regimes, UPA, they never lobbied for India the way he's asking us to lobby for India. Think about it. They never had that mechanism. They had some select people to give 1 million to have Namke Vaste lobby firm, but they never lobbied for India the way he's expecting us to lobby. And when Modi is doing a great job in terms of international relations, he's trying to ridicule us. Think the deep, divisive politics that Mr. Tharoor is playing. And I will not hold him kindly for that. Because in a community that is emerging stronger, by making it weaker, guess who you give advantage to? As I always say, Satyameva Jayate, and for the truth to triumph, you got to stand up and fight for it. Deshji, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so
Happy
much.
Diwali, happy Dhanteras, and talk to you again soon.
Happy Diwali. Happy Dhanteras. Thank you.